Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared Kodematch, and it's review time. Today, I am reviewing I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And I'm reviewing this because I'm discussing this book as part of a monthly read along on Sci-Fi Masterworks and from the Sci-Fi Masterworks series. And I'm doing this with a whole bunch of great people from Page Chewing. And our read along is going to be on August 19th. I think that's a Saturday, about a week from now. And so this is going to be a non spoiler review. And if you happen to read it, it's really quick to read. So it's not too late to pick it up now. Pick it up real quick and read it. It's only like 160 pages or so. And so if you have read it or you want to read it real quick before our discussion, I urge you to do so. It's a great book, and then you can hop on and watch the discussion between all of us and see what we can glean out of this little gem. Um, and so, with the review, non-spoiler review, I'm taking an irrespective look at a kind of a novella. Actually, it's hard to call it a full novel because it's not that long. It's kind of in between, I guess. So this short novel it brings together a bunch of themes dealing with loneliness, longing, perspective, and just human nature, and it plays with the conventions of survival and desperation, and the post-apocalyptic fantasy, really. Um, Kind of like a power fantasy, almost like the last man on earth type of, what would you do if you were the last person on earth? How would you go about surviving? Would you be able to survive better than anybody else? And so, many of the themes that presented in this book, um, they kind of have a relevancy to our lives and what they have become in the wake of the recent epidemic we've had, the COVID thing. And so, um, this is it's worth the read just for that, because it still echoes, to today. And so this book was first published in like 1954. And so the story takes place in the near future, the 70s, where the world has fallen victim to a plague that turns people into vampires. One of the things I noticed about this book is that these vampires, they kind of acted more like zombies at first, than the vampires that we've come to know. Reference is made to like Dracula in the book, and the contrast of these creatures to Dracula is pointed out. And so it was a very interesting take on that. And I'm not super informed about like the history of the undead. So I couldn't like pinpoint when the various classifications of undead became more standardized maybe than in the 50s. But for this story, that doesn't actually really matter. The creatures are what they are, and it plays into Matheson's exploration of humanity very well. And so Matheson gives us a story of one man's attempt at survival during this world-ending vampire plague. And the story is told from Robert Neville's point of view, and that's the main character, Robert Neville. And we learn about his world and his situation, like right along with him. So we start with his bumbling attempts at, like, he's trying to find a cure. This isn't a spoiler; it's right away, and trying to learn why these vampires act like they do. And it's very interesting because Robert's not a scientist, so through his eyes, you know, um, Matheson is like kind of deconstructing all the myths about vampires by trying to come up with scientific rationale for them. And it's a really wonderful device that hammers home the desperation of Robert's loneliness and his longing for human contact. And you know, we the character ends up changing his perspective about his own situation many times during the book. And the writer Matheson points out just all the foibles of human nature. And there's one great line in here, and it's a line about his exploration of horror, and it is, in a world of monotonous horror, there can be no salvation in wild dreaming. Horror he had adjusted to, but monotony was the greater obstacle. Understanding that gave him a sort of quiet peace. And so the peace that he refers to is something that humans have always looked for. But it's also something that has been fleeting in its permanence. The erosion of time itself seems to work at like eroding any such peace that can be momentarily obtained. That is that is the horror of monotony. And I thought that was just a very powerful statement that you can make for somebody who would be in that kind of situation. And this is, of course, an extreme fantastical situation, but even having a situation where you're stranded on an island, or you're stranded anywhere really, and it's been for for a long time, that that monotony has to be overcome, uh, you know, in your own mind, because you have to figure out a way to survive. So I really love how Matheson played with all these themes, and how he um, he really kept the uh, the tension going throughout, through his characters bumbling through survival. So, and and he also explored how like normalcy is a majority concept, and it's not something that can stand up to a crisis like this. I Am Legend. And so, uh, a really outstanding read. I highly recommend it, and I can't wait for the discussion. I'm really excited about it, and I want to hear what all you have to think, and all my friends at Page Doing have to think as well. And so I'm really looking forward to it. So that is my non-spoiler review for I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, a sci-fi masterpiece classic. All right. So with that said, please like and subscribe below. Leave me any comments, and be good to each other.